So welcome everybody, and this is the weekly EllAstrology live stream. So in this live stream, I am going to tell you guys about the 10 best astrology books that you guys can read. These books will help you guys gain lots of insight into astrology, and I have read quite a few astrology books in my life. And out of all the books that I have read, I must say that these ones, can teach you the most. And if you're an aspiring astrologer or you just want to get to know some things about astrology, then it's definitely worth giving these books a check out. Cool. The first book I'm going to get started on is by my favorite author. Her name is Linda Goodman. She was an author in the 70s and the 80s, and she passed away in the 90s. But she was really, really brilliant. And in this list, there's going to be quite a few of her books because, yeah, basically her books are the best books that you can come across when it comes to astrology. Her interpretations are very, very unique. She kind of interprets her books like a story. So it's not like your very, mundane, like everyday interpretations you come across that are quite like structured. They are very, very personal and they're very, very beautiful. And yeah, I've just learned quite a bit from her books. Cool. So her name is Linda Goodman. And the first book I'm going to be talking about is Venus Trines at Midnight. So that's what the book looks like. So this book is a little bit old and a little bit worn out. I think this was like one of the second editions or something like that. This book was actually, this is a second edition, and this book was printed in the 70s, so that's why it looks so bad. But this book basically consists of a whole bunch of poems about the different signs. Now, I haven't really come across many, poetry books about astrology, so that makes this book quite unique. Linda basically covers every single sign in this book, and she even goes into detail about rising signs, moon signs, and she just basically, covers quite a few things about astrology. And as you know, poems are a very unique way to interpret things. So when reading a poem about astrology, it can really make you think about it in a much different way, because usually a poet will try and interpret something to let the reader experience it in a different way or experience it in a different light. So yeah, if you guys want to check out some really cool poems about astrology, definitely check out Linda Goodman's Venus Trines at Midnight. It's a really, really cool book. The next book I'm going to talk about is The New Astrology by Suzanne White. Now, this is also a really amazing book. It has very, very unique interpretations. It basically takes a mixture of Chinese astrology and Western astrology, and it basically gives you interpretations of when you mix those two together. So with Chinese astrology, you get the interpretations that go according to the year, whereas in Western astrology, it's more to do with the month. So in Western astrology, it goes from like the 23rd of each month, and that's what each sign will consist of. However, with Chinese astrology, it will be your birth year, and each person has their own unique interpretations according to their birth year. So this is one of the only books I have found that does interpretations on Chinese astrology mixed with Western astrology, and it's really, really detailed interpretations. They're very, very good. They're quite accurate. And yeah, if you guys want to check out, just kind of like a mixture of two different kinds of astrology put into one book, this is a really, really cool book to check out. Okay, great. So the next book I'm going to tell you guys about is also a Linda Goodman book. And this book is called Relationship Signs. Now, this is probably one of my favorite books ever. What Linda Goodman basically does in this book is she covers the topic of synastry astrology. So with synastry astrology, you basically take two different natal charts from two different people, and you basically put them together, and you do interpretations on the aspects of these two charts. Now, you can basically have a look at how two people will interact with each other in a relationship, in a friendship, in a professional, relationship, or even in their family, like with their parents or anything like that. So Linda goes into a lot of detail in this book, about synastry astrology. And yeah, this is also one of the only books I have found that really covers synastry astrology in detail, and it really gives you very detailed interpretations about how two people will interact with each other. So this book is not like your typical sun sign astrology book that you'll find. So usually sun sign astrology relationship books will just cover the two sun signs. So for example, if you're a Virgo and you're dating a Scorpio, then those books will interpret, how you two will interact with each other. This book, however, goes into a lot more detail. This book actually talks about natal chart aspects. So if you really, really want to see, a lot of detail about a relationship and, yeah, just how you're going to interact with somebody, then check this book out. I mean, it really goes into incredible detail. Like, it will tell you, like, accurate events that will happen. It will tell you how you guys could meet each other. It's just really, like, this book blows my mind. So yeah, Linda Goodman, Relationship Signs. Check this book out. Hi, Judy. Well, that's really cool. I'm glad you read that book. It's really, really good. Yeah, I really wish that more people would actually read, Linda Goodman's books, because then they would actually realize how good her interpretations are, and they'll actually learn so much about astrology. Okay, cool. So the next book I'm going to talk about is a very, very interesting book. These people have actually released quite a few books. This is Parker's Encyclopedia of Astrology. Now, these people actually have quite a few encyclopedias that you guys can check out. I'm not exactly sure how many editions of encyclopedias they have released. I've got this one. I also have another one that I'm not really going to show in this video. But yeah, so we've got a few encyclopedias that have a lot of images and a lot of pictures. So it's a very, very nice book to read if you want to, have a very visual, stimulating kind of reading experience, because they have lots of beautiful imagery relating to astrology in their encyclopedias. In this encyclopedia, I only have text, unfortunately, but it does cover basically every single term in astrology and basically every single basic topic. So if you're an astrologer and there's terms that you do not understand, like conjunction or opposition or squares or Chiron or Lilith or any, strange astrology terms that you've heard astrologers talk about, or if you've just come across some strange terms in articles or just any kind of astrology terms that you don't really know, then this is a really, really good book to check out. It will definitely make you a lot more knowledgeable on the topic of astrology, as well as the different terms that go associated with it. Okay, great. So the next one I'm going to talk about is quite a big book. So this is called Synthesis and Counseling in Astrology, the Professional Manual by Noel Till. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. I hope I am. Sorry if I'm not. So basically, this book is a case study book when it comes to natal charts. Now, this book has, I think, about 122 detailed case studies. So it basically has an illustration of all kinds of different charts, and it basically goes into quite a bit of detail as to, what this natal chart consists of, what the person, you know, what their traits are like, and that kind of thing. And if you're looking to really look into natal astrology and look into, you know, the really, really intricate sides of it, this book basically covers each and every aspect that you can basically think about in astrology. It's a really thick book. I think it's got like, I don't even know how many pages, like 800 and something pages. It's really, really detailed. It's got lots of information. And yeah, so basically they also go into detail into different people's lives. So they explain the person's life to you, and then they basically explain the chart to you so that you can basically relate the chart to the person's life. It's very, very amazing. And yeah, if you really want to go into deeper astrology, check this book out. Cool. So the next book I'm going to talk about is also going to be a Linda Goodman book. So before I got rudely interrupted by South Africa's horrible internet connection, I was talking about Linda Goodman and how amazing of an author she is. She's basically, in my opinion, she is the best astrology author that's basically ever existed. Now, this is another one of her books. This is her Love Signs book. Now, this is a very thick book as well. It's got very, very like thin, small text, and it really goes into quite a bit of detail. What this book basically is about is Linda goes into detail about when the two signs interact with each other. Now, I was talking about her her relationship signs book earlier. Now, basically in this book, she covers natal astrology and the different aspects of natal astrology. And like I was saying earlier on, she doesn't really cover how two signs interact with each other in this book. However, in this book, she does. Now, in this book, she basically takes, you know, the two sun signs, and she gives an extremely, extremely detailed interpretation on how they'll interact with each other. I don't think I have found interpretations that are this detailed, this intricate, and this beautiful ever in my life. If you want to look into, you know, relationship astrology and how people interact with each other in relationships, especially, you know, the two sun signs, how they interact with each other in relationships, definitely check out this book. I've actually, while reading this book, I was actually in tears a few times because her interpretations are extremely poetic and they're extremely deep, and she basically interprets, you know, a relationship between these two people like a story, and she'll basically go about it like you'll read a story, and it's very, very beautiful and it's very unique, and no other author, in my opinion, is able to capture the essence of astrology like Linda Goodman can. Okay, great. So the next one I'm going to talk about is a very interesting book that I came across. I didn't actually think that I would, like, you know, really get into this book, but I really did. It actually covers a very interesting topic. It covers, you know, the health side of astrology. Now, this book is called Health Signs by Claire Putulengro. I'm sorry if I say that wrong. I'm very bad at pronouncing certain names sometimes. So yeah, anyway, so this book is about the health side of astrology. Now, it's actually very interesting. She goes into detail in this book how each sign will be health-wise. So she'll tell you about, you know, the issues that you could have with your health that basically relates to your sign. And it's actually scarily accurate. Each sign will basically have their own physical traits and their own physical manifestations that go along with them in their life, and she basically explains it to you. So some people that tend to, you know, suffer from cholesterol, I mean, you can check out which signs will actually have that. You can check out which signs will tend to have skin problems, stomach problems. Like, for example, Virgo is known to be a sign that has lung health problems. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. She also talks about, you know, signs like Gemini and how they can have issues with their like shoulders and their arms, and there's just all kinds of interesting interpretations of how the signs can affect you health-wise. So yeah, if you guys want to check it out, it's very, very interesting. It's also a very, very detailed book. It's very thick and it's got quite a few pages. And yeah, she even gives you menus for, you know, recipes that that are specific to your sign and that could actually help your sign, you know, like function better. It's quite interesting. And yeah, it's actually just a very interesting book to have. It's got like the recipes, it's got like a checklist for your health. It's even got like, you know, whether you should drink. It's got like little questionnaires. Are you a true Gemini, for example? And it will ask you questions and that kind of thing. And usually when I use this book to talk to people and I ask them these questions about their sign, they usually answer yes to everything, you know, relating to their sign. So it's actually a very scarily accurate book to read. And it's a very helpful book to have, especially when you're doing natal astrology and you're just doing, you know, professional astrology and that kind of thing. Okay, great. So the next book I'm going to talk about is going to be another Linda Goodman book. Yeah, so I told you guys I really, really like Linda Goodman. Her books are amazing. So this book is her sun sign book. This book basically covers her interpretations of each and every sun sign. Now, this book of mine is quite messed up. It's quite old. It's actually split in half already. I've been reading it so much. I really, really love this book. I think I've probably read it like 10 times already. It's got the best sun sign interpretations that you can come across. So this book was written very long ago. I think this book was written like in the 70s. So it's got a very almost old-fashioned style to it. But like I said, what's interesting about Linda Goodman is her interpretations are like stories. They aren't like your mundane, everyday interpretations that you'll come across. When you're reading her interpretations about the signs, it's like reading a story. So it really keeps you captivated, and it really, you know, it kind of grabs you and you kind of want to read the whole story about the sign, and it's just really, really beautiful. So if you want to, you know, get to know sun sign astrology and get to know the symbols associated with the different signs and that kind of thing, then definitely check out Linda Goodman's Sun Signs. It's an awesome book. Okay, great. So this book that I'm going to talk about is the 9th book. I think I've covered 8 books already. So this is a Synastry astrology book. Now, like I was talking about earlier, I've got another Synastry astrology book, which is this one. This one's like a very brief one. It's not that detailed. It's quite small, quite thin. It doesn't go into that much detail, but it also has very, very interesting interpretations about synastry astrology. Like I said earlier, synastry astrology is when you take 2 natal charts of 2 different people and you see how the aspects interact with each other, and that way you can get a very, very good interpretation of how these people will interact with each other in a relationship. It's a very, very interesting form of astrology. I love, you know, looking into synastry astrology, especially when it comes to my interactions with my friends and just the people around me that I love. Now, so if you want to check out this one is written by Penny Thornton, and it's called Synastry, A Comprehensive Guide to Astrology, to the Astrology of Relationships. Okay, cool. Now, the last one I'm going to talk to you guys is an amazing series of astrology content that's been released. I was actually very lucky to come across this. It's a very interesting story. When I was like, how old? I think I was about 15, 16 years old, and I was really, you know, into my astrology. I think I actually started getting into astrology at a very young age, when I was about 11. Anyway, when I was about 16 years old, I used to go to lots of bookstores, and I used to try and get all the astrology books I possibly can. So then once I went to this bookstore, and they only had like a small astrology section. So they actually only had about 3 or 4 astrology books, and I think one of the books on the shelf that they had I already had, so I didn't choose that book, but the other 3 astrology books that they had I took. And I went to the cashier and I put the books down, and then the guy said to me, "Oh wow, I see that you're really into your astrology." And then I said to him, "Yes, well, I really am. I'm trying to gain as much information as I possibly can." Then he said to me, "Well, I actually have something for you. I think you'd like it." And then he actually took me to the back of the bookstore, and he just gave me this entire set of, it's basically an astrology encyclopedia, but there is 6 binders like this in the entire set, and it's got so much information on astrology. Now, when he said this to me, he said I could have it. I said to him, "Oh, okay, great. Like, how much? And how much do you want me to pay you?" And then he said, "No, I can have it for free." And I was so shocked. I was like, "Oh my goodness, that is incredible." Now, I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with this series of astrology, how do I call it, magazines. I think this is basically a series of magazines relating to astrology that was released, and you can basically, collect, I think it's 100 issues of this magazine, and then you can basically build, your entire encyclopedia of astrology like this. Now, with each magazine, you get like a special gift as well. You get, like, for example, with it, I got like a whole set of like tarot cards, I got runes, I got the I Ching little coin sets, I got like posters of astrology. I actually got these posters from it. It actually gives you like really cool stuff, just relating to astrology to help perform it and that kind of thing. And I think with each magazine, you would get like, for example, a few tarot cards to add to the collection. Now, in order to actually build the full set of the encyclopedia, you'd have to buy each magazine. And I think that's each of like 100 or 50. I'm not exactly sure how many there were because I wasn't actually collecting it myself. But yeah, it's quite an interesting, release of astrology content. I really got so much information from this. It really goes into a lot of detail. It covers every single aspect of astrology that you can possibly imagine. It goes into Western astrology, Vedic astrology, Chinese astrology. It even covers aspects of astrology that I never even knew existed, like trees and birds and all kinds of interesting things. Not that I really, look much into those ones, but yeah, it's very, very interesting. And there's also a few other topics that it covers. It also has a section on tarot cards. So if you want to look into tarot cards, it's got lots of information on it. It's got very, very good interpretations. It shows you some really good spreads if you want to know, interesting spreads on how to do interpretations with tarot cards and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's got numerology, it's got symbolism, it's got palmistry in it. It's got basically every form of, esoteric practice that you can think of. Now, yeah, I don't know if you guys can actually still get hold of this, but it's just really, really amazing. The publisher of it was Hatchet. So it's basically called Learn and Understand Astrology by Hatchet. And it also comes along with really cool pictures. So it's very, very interesting. It's kind of almost like an interesting way to learn astrology. So for example, this basically goes into the symbolism of the number 7. So it will tell you basically everything that is associated with the number 7. And then it just basically goes into so much detail about everything, you know, like I said, every topic in the esoteric subject that you can think about. Like I said, tarot, numerology, I Ching, runes, anything like that. It's really, really amazing. So yeah, so that is it for my books on astrology today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, thank you, Susanna. It is a very, very amazing book. Yeah, I wish I could show you guys, you know, actually want to show you guys just a quick little peek at the chart interpretation section. So this is actually a section where it goes into detail of the moon's nodes and its sign. Now, I know there aren't many interpretations out there on the north node and the south node, but it basically goes into detail of both, and then it also goes into detail of the dark moon. It goes into detail of, like, for example, Pluto, and then it's got like these beautiful like imagery that goes along with it. It's just so, so amazing. But anyway, so that is it for the top 10 books that you guys can read in astrology. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today, and I hope you guys maybe saw one or two books that you guys might be interested in if you guys want to check out astrology. And yeah, definitely check out some of these books. They're really, really amazing, and they've really helped me gain lots of knowledge on the topic of astrology. And if you just want to learn a lot, it will be very, very helpful to check it out. So yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Have an amazing Sunday, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. Hope you guys stay blessed. Hope you guys stay peaceful. Hope you guys stay positive. And yeah, just have an amazing, amazing time. Cheers. See you guys next week.